Why is Peppa full on body shaming Daddy Pig?
You've got a big tummy, Daddy.
And why is the cartoon stuck in outdated, disgusting gender roles? Here's the thing. Peppa Pig has been running since 2004. It's broadcast in over 180 countries. It is one of the most watched children's shows on the planet, and for most of that time, parents just kind of accepted it. But then something shifted. Parents started actually watching it, really watching it. And what they found was not harmless. There's body shaming baked into the storylines. There are gender roles so outdated they'd feel at home in a 1950s sitcom. There's a main character who is, by almost any measure, a bully who never gets corrected. And somehow, all of it is wrapped in pastel colors and a laugh track, so your child absorbs it without either of you noticing. Reason 1, Peppa is a body shamer, and the show thinks it's funny. Let's start with the one that has caused the most real-world damage: Daddy Pig's weight. This is not a subtle, recurring background detail. It is a constant, relentless feature of the show. Peppa calls out her dad's big tummy on a regular basis. When Daddy Pig tries to get into the treehouse, he gets stuck in the door while Peppa, Mummy Pig, and George all laugh. When he tries to use the diving board at the swimming pool, it's played as a visual joke at his expense. In one episode, Peppa attempts to get fit and tells Daddy Pig directly that he doesn't look fit and that his tummy is too big. And when Daddy Pig tries to defend himself by saying he's naturally fit, Peppa shuts him down. But here's the moment that really set off parents. The password to Peppa's secret treehouse. The thing you have to say to get in. It's Daddy's big tummy. That's the password.
The secret words are Daddy's big tummy.
I see.
A 4-year-old created a password specifically designed to mock her father's body every single time someone visits. And the show never once frames this as a problem. Nobody pulls Peppa aside and says that's not kind. The laugh track plays. Everyone moves on. The real-world consequence of this? Parents started noticing their toddlers walking up to strangers, neighbors, relatives, and commenting on their weight. One parent described their child approaching a neighbor and announcing that he had a big tummy, just like Daddy Pig. Another said their child started calling them fat unprompted. Parenting expert Dr. Karen Phillip flagged that shows like this can erode a child's ability to develop empathy, because the bad behavior is never meaningfully addressed on screen. Children learn by watching. And what they're watching here is a child repeatedly mock an adult's body to his face, with zero consequences, presented as completely normal family fun. Reason 2, the gender roles are stuck. Somewhere around 1955. If body shaming is the most obvious problem, gender roles are the most insidious, because they're quieter. They're baked into the background of almost every episode. Let's start with the pink shirt episode. Daddy Pig's football shirt accidentally gets dyed pink in the wash. His response is to assume it must be one of Mummy Pig's dresses and to declare that pink is not a good color for a football shirt. He then asks George what he thinks of pink. George, who's barely verbal, manages to say one word: yuck. Pink is for girls.
But I can't wear a pink football shirt.
Why not, Daddy? Pink is a lovely colour.
What do you think, George?
Then there's the narrator describing Mummy Pig as dressing up as a fireman. Not a firefighter, a fireman. In 2019, the London Fire Brigade actually called the show out publicly, pointing out that the word fireman had been retired for decades, and that language like this actively discourages young girls from considering the profession. And then there's the broader dynamic of how Mummy and Daddy Pig function as characters. Daddy Pig is portrayed as lovable, but fundamentally useless. He can't cook. He can't fix things. He can't navigate. He can't organize a day out without something going wrong. And who fixes everything? Mummy Pig. Every time. Without complaint. Without recognition. Without so much as a thank you. One parent described reading a Peppa Pig book where Daddy Pig tries to do something nice for Mother's Day and fails spectacularly at every attempt, ultimately leaving Mummy Pig to sort everything out herself. The gift at the end? A half-eaten chocolate bar. The book's message, according to that parent, was that mums will always save the day, and they'll do it without thanks. Aimed at preschoolers. The show is also full of quiet reinforcement that certain things are for girls and certain things are for boys. Peppa's treehouse has a rule that boys aren't allowed in. When play gets categorized, it's often along strict gender lines. These aren't loud moments. They're small, repeated, cumulative, and that's exactly what makes them effective. Reason 3, Peppa is a bully, and she never gets called out. Here's what makes Peppa genuinely problematic as a role model. It's not that she behaves badly. Kids behave badly. That's realistic. It's that she behaves badly, and the show consistently fails to address it. There's a famous episode where Peppa calls Susie Sheep to complain that she can't whistle. She's looking for sympathy and solidarity. Susie mentions that she can't whistle either. Great, they bond over it. Then Susie demonstrates that actually she can whistle and has just learned how. Peppa's response is to hang up the phone immediately without saying a word. Not even goodbye. Just gone.
Put your lips together and blow. Like this.
This is presented as a punchline. It is not followed by Peppa calling back to apologize. It is not followed by anyone telling Peppa that hanging up on your best friend because she achieved something you haven't is unkind. The episode moves on. This pattern repeats constantly. Peppa mocks her father, nobody corrects her. Peppa excludes George from games, nobody corrects her. Peppa declares a game unfair the moment she starts losing. Nobody corrects her. She laughs at other people getting hurt or embarrassed, but becomes furious if anyone laughs at her. And the show just keeps going. Researchers at Northeastern University who looked at the show noted that where Peppa Pig goes wrong is precisely this. The bad behavior is never corrected on screen, which means young children watching who are at the exact age where they're learning what's acceptable are getting a consistent message that this is just how you act. Reason 4. Daddy Pig is treated like the family punching bag. We've already talked about the body shaming, but the disrespect towards Daddy Pig goes far beyond his weight. He's the butt of almost every joke in the show. He's routinely called silly by his own daughter. His competence is questioned constantly. His opinions are dismissed. His feelings are never considered. He gets stuck in slides, wedged in tree houses, and splashed into duck ponds, and the appropriate response from his family is always laughter. One parent who reviewed the show described the dynamic bluntly. Almost every episode has some form of contempt for Daddy Pig, and that observation has landed with a lot of people because it identifies something specific. The cruelty toward Daddy Pig isn't random or accidental, it's a recurring structure. He tries, he fails, everyone laughs, nobody asks if he's okay. For young boys watching, this normalizes the idea that men's feelings don't need to be considered. For young girls, it normalizes treating the men in their lives as figures of fun. Neither of those is a great lesson at age 3. Reason 5, Peppa is a terrible loser and the show rewards it. Peppa cannot lose. This isn't an occasional character flaw. It is a defining feature of who she is. The moment a game stops going in her favor, she either declares it unfair, changes the rules, or simply refuses to continue. When her friends are better at something than she is, she doesn't celebrate them. She shuts it down. The whistling episode is the clearest example, but it shows up throughout the series. Sports, games, competitions, the moment Peppa isn't winning, the activity becomes stupid or rigged. And again, this is never corrected. Nobody takes Peppa aside and explains that being a good sport means being happy for your friends. Nobody models healthy losing behavior. The show just moves on. And Peppa continues being Peppa. For toddlers who are actively learning how to handle frustration and disappointment, this is not a useful template. Reason 6. The show got banned in Australia for teaching kids not to fear spiders. This one is not a theory or a parental interpretation. This actually happened. There's an episode of Peppa Pig that was pulled from Australian television by the broadcaster because it teaches children that spiders are friendly and nothing to be afraid of. In Australia, where several spider species are genuinely dangerous, this was considered a public safety issue. The episode was removed. It has not been shown on Australian television since. Now, in isolation, that's almost funny, but what it highlights is something worth thinking about. The show is produced in the UK, with UK assumptions baked in and broadcast globally without always accounting for the context it lands in. British spiders are basically harmless. Australian spiders are a different situation entirely. The show didn't adapt. The broadcaster had to step in. It raises a fair question. What other assumptions are embedded in the show that nobody has caught yet? Reason 7. It's teaching your kids to be rude, and they're getting good at it. Pull up any parenting forum. Go on Reddit, Mumsnet, Common Sense Media, any of them. The single most consistent complaint from parents about Peppa Pig is not the body shaming or the gender roles. It's simpler than that. It's that their child started acting like Peppa. And Peppa is rude, saying yuck to food, foot stamping when things don't go their way, declaring things not fair mid-game, hanging up on people, talking back to adults, calling parents silly. These are all things that parents across multiple countries have reported their children picking up directly from the show. One mom described her toddler spilling chocolate milk on the floor and then jumping in it while shouting about muddy puddles. Another said her child walked up to a neighbor and commented on his weight. A parenting coach told the Wall Street Journal that the show teaches kids that being rude and impatient is simply who Peppa is, and that it's okay. The issue isn't that Peppa is rude. Real kids are rude sometimes. That's authentic. The issue is that the show never pushes back on it. Peppa is rude and nothing bad happens. She's impatient and nothing bad happens. She hangs up on her best friend, and next episode they're fine. The show is accidentally teaching children that these behaviors have no consequences, because in Peppa's world, they genuinely don't. So, should you ban it? Here's the honest answer. Probably not. It's a kid's show. Your child loves it, and there are worse things they could be watching. But now you know what's in there. The body shaming that's played as comedy. The gender roles that nobody questions. The main character who never gets told no. The dad who exists to be laughed at. You can use that. Watch it with them. When Peppa hangs up on Susie, talk about it. When the treehouse password comes up, talk about that too. The show gives you a lot of material to work with. Just maybe don't let it run unsupervised on a loop while you're making dinner. Because Peppa has been in there for 20 years, and she knows exactly what she's doing. Drop in the comments if your kid has ever pulled a full Peppa on you. And if you want more deep dives into the shows your kids are watching, we've got plenty more. See you in the next one.